Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias. I sure do love being sick, and I also sure do love when I go to record a video and then I go to upload it, and then the camera messed up and all the footage is bad. So that explains where I've been. Today, I wanted to talk about a live stream that happened maybe like it was probably 2-3 weeks ago at this point on this very channel, where I did a live stream straight from my head mount. So you could see this perspective in a live stream, and you could interact with me directly, ask me questions, etc. It went fine, except for all of the mountain of tech issues, like the stream ending early because my camera's battery reported that it was 25%, and then it died immediately as I saw that. And then there was also the fact that the whole thing looked like I was streaming it through a screen made in Minecraft. But let me know. I'm curious for people who are actually in that stream. How much does the quality of that actually matter to you as opposed to I guess, does the quality detract from the experience enough for me to not do that again? Or do you appreciate the format more than the quality of it itself? During that live stream, someone asked me a question, and it was the kind of question that, as someone who answers questions and interacts with the community, I live for. The kind of question that makes you sit down and actually really properly think. It's not just some simple thing, oh, cheese good man? Yeah, cheese good man. It doesn't require a lot of brain power to say that. But something that truly makes you genuinely think about the answer that you're going to give. And I wanted to turn that question into an actual video because this is a topic I've discussed with other content creators at some point, but I've never thought about actually turning it. That was the worst place to drop that. Never thought about actually turning it into a video to give you guys kind of an insight into how I go about doing what I do. And we are joined by a furry friend again. Hello, dog. Please don't flip over your dogs, people. I'm going to just put that away and walk over here. And then, is she going to take over my filming spot? I think she is. This question was, on the surface, a simple one, but one that really, really got me interested. Ethan, if you had to evaluate a ballad song, tell us the balance, tell us whether you liked it or not, but you could only do it using one trick, what would that trick be? And that question just kind of stopped me in my tracks because it's a genuinely, genuinely fascinating one. Hey, dog, go lay down. Go lay down. Go on. Thank you. So, I came up with two responses for this, and I kind of want to give you guys why I'm stuck on those two tricks and which one I would ultimately pick. Number one, the 0G chaplain. Now, you can tell a lot about a ballad song from a normal chaplain. You can tell a little bit about weight distribution, balance, whether or not the handles have enough weight in them to carry momentum, whether the handles carry too much momentum. You can tell a lot about the comfort because, your finger is rubbing against a spot over and over again. You can tell if the texture is maybe too slippery or too grippy. Again, this is not perfectly, mind you, you can tell all this, but it's a really, really insightful trick, the chaplain. If the ballad song spins off too fast, I know that there's either not enough handle weight, maybe there's too much blade weight, maybe the handles don't have enough weight or carry enough momentum at the end of them. If it really sticks to your finger, you can tell that maybe it's got a lot of weight towards the end of the handles because the farther away that weight is from the pivot point, the better it will carry momentum. Maybe the chaplain is really difficult to start and stop. That can indicate that those handles are heavy and that the ballad song carries a lot of momentum. And the opposite can be true if it's really easy to start or stop. The chaplain can tell you a lot of things. Again, not perfectly. You get a window into a lot rather than a good amount of insight into each specific one. But I think that's what the essence of this question is kind of asking. Now you'll notice I'm talking about a chaplain and not a 0G chaplain. Well, I find the 0G chaplain to be particularly slightly more revealing because it is so much easier for a ballad song to fail on a 0G. There are balisongs out there that, it's easy enough to chaplain. And if you're not looking or you're not paying enough attention to the chaplain, it can kind of go under the radar that it would slide off if you were just doing your chaplain slightly differently. The thing with a 0G is it reveals that so much easier because it's so much more difficult to get a 0G and maintain a 0G. You can do it quickly for a few rotations, as I often do, but to really keep it going, you have to shake your arm around, you got to really get into it. And not very much imbalance can hide itself in a 0G chaplain. You can just fling your balisong right across the room. Because of everything you're doing, you're swinging your arm around. I can't do it without my voice shaking, so I'm not going to do it while I'm talking, but your arm is shaking. You're trying to pull the balisong back up from gravity. There is a lot going on there, so you need all the momentum from the balisong that you can get. Something that maybe has too much blade weight or not enough end weight in the handles will reveal itself so much easier in a 0G chaplain. Now, what's my other trick? My other trick is the choker fan. For very similar reasons, but instead of it being a handle-biased situation, we're talking about a more neutral or a more blade-biased situation. You see, a fan can do a lot in telling you more about the balance or the weight distribution of a balisong. Maybe the handles are too heavy. It doesn't fan very well. There's not a good balance between the tip weight and the end weight of the handles. Maybe the tip weight of the blade is way too much. If the fan is kind of difficult to start and keep going, there can be too much momentum in the blade, which can lead to an unpleasant fanning experience. Maybe it fans perfectly. Maybe it doesn't extended fan very well, but it fans pretty well for just short little quick fans. The handles, if they're too blocky, it's going to present itself in a fan much easier than any other trick. Besides maybe like a ladder or something like that. Grip is another thing that you can tell with a fan. How easily does the texture of the balisong slide between your fingers as you are doing the fan? And the choker fan is exactly like what the 0G is. There are things that can reveal themselves in a choker fan that don't reveal themselves in a typical fan. For example, there are some balisongs that I can fan fine here, but as soon as I go into a choker fan, either the geometry of the handles is off or maybe the momentum is off and it just dies. You can't keep a choker fan going very well you can't keep the fan going very well into a choker fan. It dies out because the geometry of the handles is weird. Maybe there's not enough tip weight to keep that blade kicked out and spinning throughout the duration of the choker fan. And it's kind of a testament to how well a balisong can fan the longer you can let that choker fan go. And so both of these reveal two different things about a balisong. I would say the only two tricks I really need to fully get an idea of how a balisong is going to flip is a 0G and a choker fan. Because the 0G tells me a lot about the handle bias side of things, and the choker fan tells me a lot about the blade bias side of things, or the blade side of things. And those two work in harmony to give me a really good picture of a balisong. Obviously, there's more that you have to do. You have to do like ladders and stuff like that for very specific parts of the balisong. Although choker fans can kind of help with jimping as well, because you kind of go over that area. But ultimately, the trick that I would choose is the 0G. And that is simply because not as many people enjoy fanning as they enjoy handle bias tricks. Handle bias tricks are just far more common in the community. It's what beginners are mostly doing. It's what a lot of advanced people are mostly doing. There is a lot that you can learn and that you can articulate about a balisong based on how much momentum it carries in its handles throughout whatever tech, conventionally flipping aerial bullshit that you're trying to pull off. And not as many people really appreciate the fan as much. Now, there are people who appreciate the fan, but you can kind of exist without fanning a balisong. There's plenty of balisongs that don't fan very well that people love. I look at the Orion AL as a recent example of that because the fanning experience is, to me, kind of mediocre, but it's a great balisong for people who like more typical things. So I think that's my answer, the 0G. What trick would you use to evaluate a ballad song if you could only use one? I'd use the 0G Chaplain. Let me know what you think. Of course, everyone's going to be different. Everyone knows different tricks in a more intimate way. You know, there's people who are incredibly familiar with like ladders as opposed to fans or something like that, so they can get a lot more information. But that's the one that I would say personally. And those are my top 2 picks for evaluating ballad songs. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.